All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. A lot of this is going to be a repeat of what I talked about in the fall semester, but um, there's also been a number of tools that I've used this past semester to work and use AI in the classroom. Some of the stuff that I'm bringing up, if you've been in any of the other presentations I've done, you've heard me talk about, I'm now teaching a business course at Cypress College. And so a lot of this stuff I'm using there as well. And so I think it's helping me. I think it's helping me to do a better job here because I can actually talk about things that I'm actually using rather than what people have told me or what I've learned or stuff like that. So that said, how to use AI to build your course. Now, you can build your course using AI, and we're going to talk about that very briefly, the building of the course, but think about breaking your course down into components. And this is where AI really can be very strong and really, really help. So what do I mean by that? When you get into your course, there's a lot of different aspects of it. So those aspects AI can really, really help in those various ways. For background on this particular project, I'm part of the AI task force, and we've got a website, ivc.edu/asenate/AI. I did this mostly as a summer project. I created a course using AI. And I went to the course outline of record for CIM 107. And Rupa Mather is one of the teachers of that course. So I worked with her to make sure that, I was doing things well. And then also Rebecca Beck, the faculty senate president, again, making sure everything was lined up, was working well and appropriate for what we're trying to do. So what we're going to go over in a lot of this is how did I do the course textbook? And there's a couple of different options there. Course content, images, etc., lectures, quizzes, and exams. This is one of the questions that I get all the time is how to use AI to generate quizzes and exams. Assignments, I'm going to go into a couple of tools that I've got now as well, and then some cautions as well as you do this. So remember, starting at the very beginning, I'm actually going to start with a caution, and that is whenever you use AI, understand it's your work. Make sure that that is accurate. Make sure that it reflects what you want it to be. So if you are using AI to generate a textbook, make sure you've got it, that it's accurate. So why did I choose this particular class? Because it's course content that I knew. I have been working in doing support and in technology for over 30 years. This allowed me to work on things that I actually do know and work with all the time. I worked with faculty to make this happen so that it wasn't just me making things up. It was following things through properly. I use the AI tools that are available at IVC. I did not go out and pay for any tools. I didn't go get tools from someplace else. I used only the tools that are available here at IVC. So therefore the end is when you've got questions, I've gone through those. I understand the questions that you've got and have actually built the course using that information. So I can actually give you exactly the prompts that I used for doing that. I also have, as you'll see at the end, I've got a class that is set up that you can go through and you can actually see step by step everything that I did and copy and paste the prompts in for you to use as well. So the process that I went through, I identified the course, I found the course outline of record, I identified an OpenStax OER textbook. That was key to what I would consider success. I created 2 Canvas shells, and I'll explain that in a minute. And the main tools I utilized were Copilot, ChatGPT, and Firefly. So A lot of the images that you're going to see are generated through Firefly because that was just an easy tool. It's Adobe Firefly. You have access to it at firefly.adobe.com, and you log in with your credentials and you can generate images similar to what you're going to see in this. So why did I create 2 textbooks? First of all, one, I tried to do AI generated completely. I hated that. I really couldn't get it to write the content that I wanted. Everything was outlines, which was great, but it didn't actually write the content. I tried to build it chapter by chapter using the course outline of record. And again, it gave me lots of outline, but it didn't fill in the gaps and it didn't write it in a way that I found even really readable. It would be fine if your chapters are a page or 2 long. It wasn't fine for writing, a 20-page chapter. So then I very quickly shifted over into using an OER textbook. So you can look those up online. OpenStax has got a lot. LibreText has got a lot. The advantage to that is that's already open source. So you are allowed to take the content from that and upload it into AI and then pull information out, make changes, etc. If you do that with your publisher textbook, that actually is illegal for most publisher textbooks. They specifically do not allow you to upload their book publicly. So, and that's what happens when you upload it to any of the AI systems. So I compared the outline of record to the OER textbook, found a couple of things that were missing, and then I was able to develop just the missing content or find it in another location as was appropriate. So things that I had AI do. One is to create a class schedule from the course outline of record. Identify the main assignments and the syllabus. It worked really well for that. Then using OER, again, from the textbook, it created the schedule then. It identified those main assignments, created the syllabus, and then it used chapters from the book to develop missing content. So basically, I built this out in such a way that I wasn't having to write a lot of content, because this was, after all, a summer project. This wasn't my whole job. And just like you've got other things to do other than write a textbook. You've got other things to do than develop all of your material for a class. That's why you have sabbaticals, rather than trying to do that all in a summer or even a couple of months or something. What I wound up doing for the lectures is I would take chapters and create outlines and turn those into slides. I found a tool that would convert the chapter to the PowerPoint slides, and I developed AI images from the book, either from a book itself or using AI. And again, that's where I used Firefly. The tool that I used, in some cases, I was able to use Slides AI, which we do have access to here. I really don't like it. But then I looked and I found other tools that worked better than Slides AI to create a PowerPoint or Google Slide presentation. You can also use ChatGPT, for instance, and build out the slides. It won't actually put the slides into slide, so it looks like slides, but you can copy and paste. And it does a pretty good job of building out the slides pretty much the way you would like it to. So it's a nice tool to use. Like I said, ChatGPT, Copilot. You've got access to Copilot by going to copilot.microsoft.com and logging in with your IVC credentials. And that will give you access to the FERPA compliant and education or enterprise level of Copilot. So it's really a nice system for that. Doing quizzes and exams, what I was looking for is I wanted to pull 40 questions. Now, why 40? 50 didn't seem to work. And what I wanted was as big a number as possible so that it was as useful as possible. I can write 10 questions myself. It takes a little bit of time, but I can do 10. I wanted a lot. It would take me an hour or two to write 40 multiple choice questions out of a chapter. This took a matter of minutes. What I did is the most successful was using an OER textbook. So the textbook already existed, uploading that and then saying, give me 40 questions, 40 multiple choice questions. When I did that, I then took those questions, put them into a question bank. I can now pull 5 questions out, and no matter how big the class is, out of 40, no 2 students are likely to get the exact same 5 questions. Even if they did, they'd be in a different order. So it automatically built in variety by just simply having that many questions, which is part of why I wanted 40 questions. A couple of the things that I looked at and I realized that I needed to do in doing that is you do need to read through the questions and make sure that there's variety. One of the things that I found is that often in multiple choice, the same question would come up over and over again, or the same question answers would come up over and over again with only the correct answer being different. And I really didn't like that because that seemed to me to be rather difficult. It made it pretty obvious what the right answer was once you saw a couple of questions. Now, I, in this case, used multiple choice. I've also used and asked for true and false questions. So you could say, 40 multiple choice, 40 true, false, 10 essay, short answer, those types of questions. And it's literally in your prompt how you do it, and it will load all of those in. It does a pretty nice job of that. I chose multiple choice because what I was looking for was a really easy way to upload them into a question bank. And we have a tool that if it's formatted properly, it literally takes me about a minute to create your quiz for you. And the reason I say me is because it's a tool that I'm the only one on campus that has access to it. I found that most people, because you only do it once or twice a semester, it's hard to remember what happens, and I do it 100 times a semester. So it takes me a minute or two, and it takes everybody else a lot longer. So when you've got it in the proper format, email it to me in rich text or in Word. And it, like I said, takes me a minute or so, and you've got that back to you pretty quickly. So I use the questions in question bank. I then use those same questions between quizzes and exams. Why not? There's no real difference between the questions that might come up. And so if I pulled out of that question bank multiple times, the chances of a student seeing the same question multiple times is really low. Even at that, even if they did, that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right. So I pulled, for instance, from the first chapter, I gave the students 3 opportunities to take the quiz. I then used it in the midterm. Each of those was 5 questions. So now I'm at 20 questions that the students has seen. And then I can put 5 more questions in the final. Now they've seen a maximum of 25 questions out of the 40. If they did see 25 different questions, fine. If they saw the same question multiple times, it's not that big a deal because it's part of a lot of other questions. So simply having a lot of questions in a question bank makes for the variety and makes it a lot harder for students to compare off of somebody else's notes. And that's one of the things that I was looking for, is how do I get rid of the likelihood of somebody cheating by working off of somebody else's information. So one of the keys to success in this, so I use Respondus. I don't have, we don't have that as a site license because like it takes about an hour every time you guys want to use it for me to teach you how. And since you do it once a semester, that hour happens a whole lot of times versus I can take care of 60 quizzes for you in an hour. So it's a lot better. It's a lot easier for me to just do it. I don't like that. I always like to teach somebody else how to do stuff. So your question's valid, Rupa. But it's a lot faster for me because it happens over and over again. It's so much easier. So that's why I don't teach people how to use Respondus and why we've only got a single license of it right now. But absolutely. So then I used it to create assignments. First of all, I asked AI to give me what are some general assignments, what are some assignments I would want to create? And I asked it to name the assignments and then give me more information about these assignments. In doing that, I didn't like half of the ones that it created. That's fine, but it gave me some ideas for what I wanted to do that were different, that were still using the book, getting the information out of the book, but it was allowing me to basically to be more creative because it gave me some different options. It got me off of the white page issue where where do you start when all you've got is start making assignments? I also wanted to have an overall set of assignments that accomplished something at the end of the class. And so I wanted it to break it down into logical increments, 10, 12, 16 different parts of this one big assignment that gets handed in at the end. And having it create that as well, I had a good idea for what I wanted for a final project, but hey, threw something in and said, all right, you tell me what would be a good project for this class. It had some interesting ideas. I chose to go with mine. And then what does that look like in the end? And then have it break that down across the class into logical increments meant that I was able to take and get started on those assignments very, very quickly. I still typed them in, copied and pasted them in, and created the assignments in Canvas. But it got me off of the blank page and off of the, okay, so now what do I do? What would be the next thing I want to think about? And that really is where I find the strength in using AI in class. When you're building something is not that it answers your questions, but it gets you to the point where you can have some ideas to work with. You already have ideas. See if maybe it has something else that might be more differently creative. Not necessarily more creative, but something that is interesting because you probably read the same paper over the last how many years from students. Maybe you want something a little bit different this semester. So this is a great way to do that and create these other assignments and stuff. Myself, in my class, I created, I used PlayLab, and for PlayLab, I created an in-class tutor. So this is actually something that I did in the class that I taught last semester, and in the class that I'm teaching this next semester. I uploaded all of the videos, all the transcripts from the videos that I created in the class. I also told it, do not answer from anything except my videos. So if somebody said, I teach an introduction to business class, if somebody said, why is accounting important? It actually would come back and give them an answer and say, refer to chapter 4, part 2. And which is where I actually covered that in a video. They can ask for more information, things like that. All of that is built in and it's using my information. It's not going out to the world and pulling in some other information that I don't want them to get to have access to. So I restricted it only to my course. Now, I also have a class advisor. So syllabus assignments, upload the syllabus, and now students can say, what is the late policy? What is the AI policy in this class? They can look at assignments and they can see from those assignments, they look at an assignment and now they want some more information. They can actually go to that and get some information. That said, it won't answer the assignments because again, I'm restricting it from going out to the world and pulling information in. I only want it to pull the information from my class. And the site for PlayLab is playlab.ai. But if you want an account, if you don't have an account, you want an account, shoot me an email and I'll invite you into the account that is used for IVC. We've got a whole series of things that are available, and you can actually create your own. That's one of the things I like about PlayLab is it creates your own little bots and stuff. And I'll be going over that a little bit more later on today as well. I also created a business idea generator. So for my class, it's an introduction to business class. And at the end of it, they do a Shark Tank type pitch. And so going back to what I had said before, there's a series of assignments leading up to that. But one of the hardest things is how do I pick out and figure out a idea, some business idea that I'm going to pitch. So, and I actually saw that students did this because I can look at what people have done in PlayLab for my class. And so I went in and I saw that they had actually gone in and answered a series of questions. So I asked them, you know, their name, what are they passionate about? What are their frustrations? Several different things to generate an idea. And then it comes out and it gives them a list of ideas. And then you can say, oh, give me more information about number 4. And it gives more information. Now, in that, if they simply handed that in, they would get a really poor grade because it's not written in a way that works. Okay. And that's what I liked. It gave them the idea to get started. Then they have to take it from there. So the idea is one of the first assignments. Then they have to build out things like, they have to create a marketing plan and stuff like that. That would take an awful lot more work to try to prompt AI to do. But that's the whole point. Get them in and get them off of that blank page was a great way to get them started. And sure enough, several people from the class did use it again to get started, but then they couldn't use AI for the rest of the course because the questions weren't, they had to actually answer real questions, not what AI would be able to do. So, all right, how do you incorporate all of this in Canvas? That's the beautiful part. There's a couple of different ways. So, and I'm on this and going to answer this question from Zara right here on purpose. With PlayLab, for instance, what I did is in the course navigation, I used the redirect tool and I just had it, I just gave it the link to each of the PlayLab apps and named it and said, in-class tutor. And they click on that and it opens up in PlayLab. The business idea generator and it opens up in PlayLab. So that's how it's built into Canvas, how I put it in Canvas right now. PlayLab itself does not directly interface into Canvas. The other things that I've talked about, a lot of it is copy paste, just like if you had written it in Word and you now put it into Canvas, you can't just upload it in. But it at least gets you a lot of the writing done, or at least a lot of the writing started. So it shortens the time that it takes to get things going. So now let's talk about some cautions. First of all, content may be incorrect. If you take a look at what that says on the right, you don't necessarily have to read it, but the highlighted parts are really interesting. Welcome to Gemini, and this is, by the way, from Gemini directly. Gemini will not always get it right. They're admitting that it would that is not always right. And we know this as well, but it's nice for the vendor to say, hey, we're not always right. It will get better with feedback, but it's not always right. And that's something that I think a lot of our students need to learn as well, is that the content that is created, as much as they might like it, they might think, hey, this is great, it's not going to be correct. The content will be incomplete. Now, this is important for you to know, because if you're using it to create content for your class, to create a page, to create a PowerPoint presentation, to whatever you're using it for, you're going to have to put some effort into it too. You can't just have AI write it and walk away. Now, that said, one of the things the very first assignment that I had somebody write, and the very first assignment, the very first everything, one of the students used AI to do the whole assignment. And I know that they did this because one of the things that the assignment said is cite the book, give a citation from the book. And literally they must have copied and pasted, because in their text, it had a little parentheses that said, cite the book here. So my comment, I did not tell them that they used AI. I try to stay away from that, because if they wrote it that way, well, I'm sorry, but they need to learn that that's not appropriate. And so I graded it as if that was all what they had written. And I put in feedback saying, hey, when you're doing this, make sure you cite the book, not just have a place where you would insert it. And they got a really poor grade on that particular assignment. I graded it as if it was their work. That's the way I chose to handle AI. And for the final presentation, I actually did have some people try to do the same thing, and upload something generated straight by AI. And then they had a hard time trying to present that, because my presentation was a video. So then they had to present, and there was a lot of times you could see them like sounding really odd, because they realized that this didn't make sense. And so they got graded appropriately. But we know students are using AI, so teaching them that it's going to be incorrect, that it will be incomplete, is often a good way to help them learn as well. There's errors often, even if the same prompt worked earlier. So I was talking about pulling 40 questions out of 40 questions for a question bank. I had to prompt it 4 times in order to do it. The first 3 times did not give me the information I wanted. It was the 4th time each time. For every chapter, I had to do that. Now, I hope by now it's improved, but you can't just expect that, oh, I prompted it once, it didn't work, my prompt is wrong. Sometimes you got to try it again and see if it gets closer, and then again and see if it gets closer. Like I said, 4 times, and I literally copied and pasted the prompt. So I know I didn't change it and stuff, but you've got to be aware that that's the way AI works. Significant editing is absolutely necessary. Even the 40 questions, you got to read through them, make sure that they make sense. Many times I found that they made sense. The problem often was, like I said, some of the answers were the same answer over and over again. And so that's fine in some cases, but not if the question is completely different. Does this make sense? And so significant editing is often necessary. And the key to success are how you do your prompts. If your prompts, if you just say, give me 20 questions, that will give you 20 questions. If you tell it the format, it'll get better. Each thing that you give it gets it better and better. And that's where something like PlayLab is really good, because you can actually, it helps you create the prompt itself. And it's a little different than using ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, whatever you're used to, Claude, etc. It's different than that. But because you're building that AI that you want somebody else to use, it may be even you to use. So for instance, I've got a PlayLab that will generate questions. You upload a document and it will generate however many questions you ask it to, but it won't get to the format that you need. It gets it really close and you just have to hit enter a couple of times and it will create that format for you. So, but you can create your own prompt engine basically with that. So it's a really neat tool for that. And it's very useful in that particular case. Another caution, significant time will be spent prompting. All right. Don't assume that, oh, I entered it in and I got what I needed and I move on. That's what the examples I was giving from the students, that's what the students did. And I could tell that that's what they did because it still said, cite the book here, things like that. They didn't spend the time, they didn't review it. They just assumed that, oh, this is what the teacher wanted, and so gave it to me. You will spend a lot of time reviewing, revising your materials, and then you do spend the time creating the Canvas course. This just creates the information for you, the content for you. You still need to put it in your course. That said, it's copy and paste rather than you having to physically sit there and type it in. And that saves a lot of time and a lot of mental energy trying to do that. Quiz questions, multiple choice, watch for the same response multiple times. Watch for just A or B to be correct, meaning all of the correct answers are the first answer. Now, when I upload that into Respondus, which creates the question bank for you, then it will randomize that part, but do watch and make sure that you don't always have the correct answer being A, being the first one. Make sure that the questions match what you feel is important. It's not going to know out of a chapter what you actually think is important. It's going to pick different things and just pull that in. So make sure that you've paid attention to what is important and you've made the decision, which is also why I wanted 40 questions, is because I could then delete several questions and it wouldn't really matter to my end result. So think about that as you're creating quiz questions. It's not going to know what you find is important unless you prompt it in a way that tells it that that's important. Files. When you're uploading files, there's certain types it cannot read. For instance, many of these tools can read PDF and they can read RTF, which is a rich text format, but they cannot read Word files. They cannot read Pages files. So what you have to do, it'll read a text file. So what you have to do is file save as something like an RTF. RTF has all the formatting. It looks like a Word file, but it's got the formatting to you that looks like a Word file. It doesn't have the backend formatting that looks like a Word file. So it's a lot easier for these systems to read. But it may not be able to read a video. Some can read different things. So whichever tool you're using, you'll want to try it and see what types of files it can read. File size can be an issue. So if you have a really large PDF, you might actually have to convert it to a rich text format file so it's only text and no images. And when you do that, then it's a lot easier, it's a lot smaller, and therefore a lot easier to upload. You may not be able to create a file. So for instance, what I wanted it to do is create an RTF file. It wouldn't do that. It said it was, but, in fact, I had it work once and then it stopped working after that. So I don't know what was different. I thought I copied and pasted the same prompt each time. But what happens is if it doesn't create that file, it will create the text. You hit a button and you copy that text and paste it into a file yourself. Notepad, Word, something like that, you just copy and paste it in and it'll take care of that for you. So that's where it may only create the text for you to copy and paste. For more information, I've created a course called Building Your Course Using AI that if you shoot me an email, you'll have access to as a student, and you can go through and you see exactly what I did. There's images in there of it. There's the images are created using AI. Why not? That's what I was trying to do. Everything about the course, literally, it gives you the prompts that I used, and you can copy and paste them. It gives you results of the prompts and stuff like that too, so that you can actually see what exactly was happening and how I did that. For contact information for me, it's my email that was on the last slide, or you can email IVC faculty support at ivc.edu. You can always enter an Ivanti request to request service. And there's the YouTube channel, which is at the bottom of my signature on all of that. And thank you. Now, there is one other announcement that I want to make, and that is, as of this past Monday, Amanda Turner is no longer working for Irvine Valley College. She is now an instructional technologist at Saddleback College. So that means that for now, the only person answering the IVC faculty support email is me. And so if it's a little bit slower response than you're used to, that's because I'm the one answering. And so there's a number of things that I've got to catch up with from yesterday. And I've got 5 presentations today, so I don't know that I'll be caught up by the end of the day today even. But I'm working to try to make sure that everything, the standard that you're used to getting, we will continue to get. But right now, I'm the only person that's really handling the main Canvas and instructional support here at Irvine Valley. So that said, talk to me. What questions do you have?
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
So going back to how to integrate, let's say, PlayLab in Canvas, can you show us really quickly? I couldn't find out how to do that. I tried.
How to get into PlayLab?
Yeah.
You need to request it from me.
Oh, no. I do have PlayLab. How to use PlayLab within Canvas?
Oh, so there's a couple of different ways. So first of all, in PlayLab, oh. So here in PlayLab, you create the prompt system for yourself. And we're looking at doing a professional learning community here. at IVC to go through how to do this. There's a lot of different things that could really make it useful. And this is one of the very first ones that I created, was this business idea one. But once you do that, you hit publish. And then once you published it, you want to publish it publicly or to PlayLab, but publicly makes it available to your students so they don't need to they can just go to a link. And when they have that link, the link is here under this link part, copy publish link. And that's when you can add it into Canvas on a page. You can add it into Canvas on with the redirect tool or something like that. Wherever you want to put a link, you can do it in modules and just have a link in there.
Okay.
It's an external link.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. But you have to, I've learned this the hard way. You have to publish it publicly. And then it's only available, by the way, through the link. It's not available through, they can't search and find it. But you do have to first publish it, then pull the link. So, Rupa.
Yes, I created an OER course with my own material, similar to what you did, but I couldn't find an OER textbook, so I couldn't find one that I liked, so I, of course, created my own materials. I'm at the point where I need to make the quiz questions, but I'm a little bit wary about using ChatGPT or Bing to upload all my course materials and then have quiz questions made from it. I read the Google Notebook LM, and it seems to have more privacy issues, that they won't use my data to kind of train the AI. And I see here in PlayLab that you have that quiz multi-choice generator. How do you feel about uploading all of our course materials onto PlayLab? Yeah.
So I like it in PlayLab because PlayLab itself, PlayLab is a nonprofit that is associated with California community colleges in some way, the chancellor's office. I don't know exactly. I don't think it's part of it. I think it's, they've got a partnership. But anyway, they understand FERPA compliance. They understand not to share the information out. So you're actually using a private account. And when you do these, so for instance, here, when I edit it, I can choose which one of these 6 different AI models I want to use. And I can tell it what variability I want, how creative I want it to be and stuff. And so I like this for doing that. Honestly, I'm not that worried that somebody's going to get your course material from ChatGPT. Okay. Because the reason I say that is it's kind of security by obscurity, meaning there's so much information in ChatGPT. What are the chances they're actually going to get something from you? Now, I would never put something FERPA related in there. Okay. But the chances of somebody finding exactly your questions or something like that out of there is pretty small. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. That helps a lot.
Sure.
One more follow-up. Here you're showing that you can pick different AI models. Like for me, how would I know which one to pick?
I call it error and trial. Try one and see if it does what you want, and then try another one, and then keep on trying until you get results that are consistent in the way you want them, and then go with that one. And by the way, some models are better at certain tasks than others.
Thank you.
So I found, for instance, I liked Copilot better than ChatGPT for a lot of the creating the questions for the quizzes. It just seemed to be more consistent. So now that might have changed 2 weeks later, but you know, because they're always improving and stuff. Okay. Roland?
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
So with Amanda leaving, was this a sudden thing or were we planning for this or it just happened?
Um,
Or
she
no comment?
interviewed back in December and got the job.
Okay, so this means that anytime we have like a projector problem or a computer problem in the class, you're the guy, right? You're the only guy.
So if you call tech support,
Yeah,
there are 3 of us that are answering that call. And so
okay,
it's more Canvas related that it's
Oh,
gonna be
okay.
me.
Okay.
But the other stuff, we still have 2 other people who are answering those calls. And then we're sending texts out a lot.
okay. But what
And-
happened if
and
you,
For right now, I literally sent across a wall from the text. So if they aren't moving, I stick my head out and, hey, can somebody run? So
okay. And so what's IBC gonna do if you decide to bolt? We're just gonna shut down or what?
that's a discussion for somebody above my pay grade. I would
Yeah,
love to
I
know
hope,
the
I
answer
hope
to
your
that
pay
myself.
grade is, I hope you have a really high pay grade because, this place is sounding kind of Mickey Mouse, you know, with everybody leaving. You're doing everything, it seems like. That's not right.
I will leave that as your comment and I appreciate that.
Okay. Well,
I
I'm gonna
truly,
talk,
I understand and I agree and yes, all of the above. So.
all right. Anyway, we appreciate the things you do, always have. 30 years.
Yeah, it's I appreciate working with you guys. I love my job. I love the people I work with. It has been definitely definitely a fun job. I'm not heading anywhere that I know of, but
Okay.
you know,
Well, rumor is you love me the most. I just heard, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard.
well, I don't get to see you often enough, so I don't know.
Well, absence makes the heart grow fond, I
There you go.
think.
All right. Um, there is not a specific tool that focuses per se on medical that we have access to in PlayLab. There are specific AIs that do access that go for specific areas, but what I've found is usually what I've looked to do instead of that is to provide my own content. So here, if we look at, well, here, I'll just go into the one for my class. At this one, you'll see that it, in the references part, you'll see that it's got transcripts. And I've literally told it only pull the information from my transcripts. So then I control what the students are receiving. And I tell it only pull this information in. If it's not in this information, tell them to talk to me or, you know, or to ask a better question. And that's part of the prompting that I'm doing, that I've created in this. So. Any other questions? Or Roland, I see your hands up. I don't know if there's another one that you got. Oh.
Tim, one more question about the references. In this quiz generator, well, I'm not sure if I'm in the quiz generator part. Am I in the quiz generator AI? Is that what you're showing me?
This right now is the introduction to business class.
Oh, sorry.
But
Can
the
you go
quiz
to,
generator is here under the IVC. So this, when I invite you to PlayLab account, this is what you get access to is this, and then you can create your own workspaces. But here, the quiz multiple choice generator. So what was the question you were asking?
so the question was, in this one, I remixed it, and is it going to, I also want it to like source where it got the information. So if it's making a quiz question, say from your chapter 3 transcript, I want it to say this quiz question is from chapter 3 transcript. I don't have to share that with the students when I actually make my quiz, but it's an
Mhm.
option.
So what I did is I looked at this the opposite way. I only uploaded chapter 3
Oh,
and said, give me the questions out of chapter 3.
got
I
it.
didn't give it anything else.
Yeah,
Um,
but then did you have to, see, I wanted to, even if I do that, which is a great idea, of course, I still want it to, for every quiz question, say it's from chapter 3, so that when I do my item banks in Canvas, I know where the questions are coming from.
So I created the item bank for every chapter.
Got it.
Chapter 1 has an item bank, 2 has an item bank, 3 has an item bank.
Okay.
And then when I want to use it in a midterm or in a final or something like that, I said, pull 5 questions from chapter 1, 2 from chapter 2, or something like that. Is that,
So,
because to
so-
me, that was easier than trying to adjust it myself, let the system
yeah.
do it ahead of time, and then I just move through and I keep it separate the whole time.
So if a student was taking the final exam and they had a question about one of your questions,
Mhm.
how would you know that it came from chapter 5?
So there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. One of them, when I create in Respondus, when I create your questions, at the question number that the students don't see typically says whatever a short version of what you've given me for this question bank. So it might
it.
be MIS whatever spring S25 M C1, or something like that. Question
it.
1, question 5, that type of thing.
Okay, okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's in there. You would have to look at an extra step, but also Canvas will pull, when you pull out of a question bank in Canvas, it pulls out of that question bank and then the next question bank and then the next one. So if you've got 5 questions, the first 5 questions are going to be out of chapter 1
Okay,
every time. So it won't mix up between question banks. It only does question bank and then question bank. So you can follow that through pretty quickly that way too.
got
Make
it.
sense?
Okay. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Tim, I have a question.
Yes.
You said in order for us to get those questions into Canvas through Respondus, you want a specific format. So what is that format that we can have it ready for you in?
So here at the bottom is exactly the format.
Okay. And so is B, okay, I see you put the asterisk by the correct answer.
Correct.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And then put a 1 in front of the number of the question is all.
Okay,
I just put it in the chat,
I
but
see,
it didn't do the 1 in front. So,
okay,
but yeah, that is the format. It works beautifully. And that's the way Respondus pulls it in. And with the asterisk in front of the correct answer, if it had the first answer being correct every time, that works too.
Okay.
But you see how in this, I actually gave it the format that I wanted as well. So it's one of the things that I like about PlayLab is you can really get into the structure of what you want it to be.
okay. Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have my PlayLab account, but how would I find that IVC link?
Shoot me an email if you don't have it, but under under workspaces, I can, if you don't have one, I can add it in. It's really easy.
Yeah, please do. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, should I email you anyways?
Yep. Just shoot me an email, so I've got exactly your email address and all that stuff, and it takes me just a moment to do.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Thanks. Any other questions? All right, well, my next presentation is in this room at 9:30. Understanding how students access your course content, looking at Canvas analytics. So, love to see everybody there, whether physically in person or online. And we'll do this again, a little different than this is. So, it's a very interesting set of information, that's for sure. So thank you,
Thank you, Tim.
and I appreciate you guys attending.